Chapter 152. Approximately 1,500 meters away from the abandoned floor where Heir and the others had besieged Jack, there was a group of high-rise buildings. Looking down from here, one could see the abandoned floor and the surrounding area. This was the sniper position that Heir had pointed out. It was also the area where Ink was active. At the beginning of the mental storm, this rather intelligent crow hid obediently under a clock tower of a high-rise building. It arched its wings, buried its head, and remained motionless. That's right, the area of attack of the mental storm was 1,500 meters away. It had nothing to do with Ink. But the problem was that the distance between the person who unleashed the mental storm and Ink was far too close. They were separated by a large clock, nothing more. Above the cowering crow, at the top of the clock tower, the turbid black smoke converged into a faintly discernible shadow. It blended perfectly into the darkness of the night. Only the shape of its eyes, which were like weak sparks, carried a hint of a person within this mass of black smoke. Such an image was like a ghost, like a demon. It was terrifying to the soul. It was just that compared to the awe-inspiring might of the 3 consecutive waves of powerful mental attacks, the smoke man right now had a vexed and depressed mood. The human-faced arachnid should have left after eating, but it only made 2 more moves. This is 2F** king against the rules. The smoke man could feel that the psychic wave network that covered this area was in the process of being activated. It allowed the power of the controller of the psychic wave network to be fully transmitted over. Through the guidance of the ability users on the abandoned floor, a tyrannical attack spanning several hundred kilometers could be realized. If he had the chance, he would be very happy to go to the entrance of the Wilderness Explorer Society of Xia City and curse at Ouyang Chen's shameless behavior. But it was too late to say anything at this time. Actually, if he had disregarded everything and fled with all his might at the first moment he sensed the human-faced arachnid, there was still a chance. But the troublesome human-faced arachnid that had hunted for food was the greatest hope for the order to nurture a sacrificial vessel. He could not abandon it no matter what. That damn chain. Break for me. The smoke man had truly thrown caution to the wind. He withstood the increasingly terrifying spiritual pressure of this area. He forcefully separated a portion of the turbid smoke from his black smoke soul body and tossed it into the air. The smoke conducted a transformation on the mental plane and the material plane. It quickly tempered into a sharp edge. By the time the human-faced arachnid was locked in place by the chains, the smoke had already transformed into a swift and fierce ray of light. It chopped downwards. Today's grazing was truly a huge failure. Ouyang Chen, this grudge has been formed. The smoke man was venting his anger as he sucked in a bit of people from the nightclub. He condensed a layer of darkness once more. Please turn the page if this chapter is not finished. The smoke soul body was temporarily coping. He was certain that he wouldn't die, so he began to worry about the human-faced arachnid situation. He sensed that the human-faced arachnid wasn't too far away from this area. It was still cruising in the outskirts. This was a bit dangerous. Oh, it had found its way here. The smoke man was actually somewhat gratified for a time. He had obtained this control method from another order. Even though its origins were unknown, the effects were quite good. If it wasn't like this, it would have been impossible to tame the human-faced arachnid to this degree within a short few days. The nightclub he was in was mostly filled with young men and women who had played all night. Emotions were born and turbid energy flowed everywhere. It was also a good place to hide the human-faced arachnid. Right now, the group of people from the Ability User Society would certainly not spare him. They would search everywhere for traces of the human-faced arachnid. His current strength was greatly damaged, so he had to first recover a bit of his vitality. At the same time, he had the people of the Order come over to receive him in order to ensure his safety. As he was pondering, the human-faced arachnid noiselessly pierced through this space and stopped by his side. Its appearance was malevolent and terrifying, but its 3 severed limbs made it appear to be in a rather sorry state. I don't know if the meal I just ate can make up for the vitality that this blade chopped off. It hadn't even been 2 days since the smoke man took over the human-faced arachnid. He still didn't understand the habits of this dark-sider life form too well. He made wild guesses for a time and was rather at a loss. He also observed even more carefully. Oh, the flames under the body of the human-faced arachnid were bright and translucent. They circulated with laws and rules. Could it be that the meal just now had already begun to digest? Right when he was sizing up the arachnid with interest, he saw a beam of light shoot out from the back of the human-faced arachnid. It tore open the back of the human-faced arachnid. The smoke man was stunned. The moment the beam of light came out, it was unstoppable. The light of fire exploded from every part of the human-faced arachnid's body. It was like thousands of sharp knives, slicing and slicing. The human-faced arachnid could only struggle futilely. Then tongues of fire leaped out, burning its entire body. It burned into nothingness in the blink of an eye. The smoke man's mind was stupefied for a time as he observed this scene. It was completely blank. But then the raging flames of the fire burned the human-faced arachnid to death. Unexpectedly, they did not disperse. Instead, they converged inwards to form a maelstrom in the void. A boom rang out from within and a malevolent and terrifying demon rode the light of fire. It soared out from within the maelstrom. Its 6 eyes were of a different color and its 8 legs were spread out. If it wasn't the human-faced arachnid, then who could it be? I wrote this chapter until 4 in the morning. Exactly 6 hours. I'm also drunk. I can only postpone the morning. I've temporarily finished paying off the subscriptions and chapters. Today, I'll start paying off the monthly passes and chapters. He knew that the blood-soul temple structure that the order had implanted still existed. The foundation hadn't been lost and everything was fine. Through the blood-soul temple, he contacted the church. Soon, a deep and firm will gave him a response. I'm here. Facing the officiator, the smoke man was completely relaxed. Your Excellency, something happened in that matter before. In fact, the officiator was fully aware of the hunt this time. When the smoke man accompanied the human-faced arachnid to hunt for food, he discovered that the target that had caused the human-faced arachnid to become restless was Jack. At the time, the smoke man couldn't make a good judgment. He discussed with the first ablatum and obtained permission before chasing after Jack to hunt. However, it was difficult for the officiator to predict what would happen next. After listening to the brief report, the officiant was not too surprised. He only said, Lewin, is our mold damaged? The so-called mold referred to the human-faced arachnid. The smoke man was Lewin. Fragments of the human-faced arachnid's rebirth from the ashes flashed through his mind. However, this matter was too complicated to explain. He just picked out the key points and gave a simple response, no, it hasn't. It seems to have improved a bit. It is indeed so. I can feel a sort of spiritual pressure here that I have never felt before. The order of the environment and the sense of hierarchy are also increasing. Even though order has never been the hobby of the mighty blood flame will, the path leading to it must always be divided into a distance and a height. It is as you said. Lewin's mood calmed down. The 40-year founding ceremony of the order is at hand. For the sake of restoring the order's glory, our actions are bound to be fraught with danger and risk. This is encouraged by the blood flame will. It is fine as long as the ultimate goal is achieved. The officiator calmly arranged, there is already a soul envoy at your grazing location. I will send another one and a means of transportation. Your current mission is to escape the eye of the storm as soon as possible and bring our mold back safely. As you wish, Your Excellency. Lewin cut off the communication. His consciousness wandered into the depths of the Inferno prison. He was inexplicably lost in thought. It had already been 40 years. 40 years ago, when the Third World War was at its peak, the first officiator of the Blood Flame Order felt the mighty blood flame will amidst the despair of war. His ability was awakened, and he established the Blood Flame Order on the battlefield. It was one of the earliest modern secret orders in the world that could be verified. Mo Luen was one of the founding elders of the order. At the time, he was only 20 years old. This chapter is not yet complete. Please turn the page. He was a new recruit who had just stepped onto the battlefield. He obtained endless pleasure from the power of slaughter bestowed upon him by the blood flame. The rapid development of the order allowed him to obtain achievements that he had never dreamed of in his youth. As an old secret order, the blood flame had once had astonishing glory. Their followers covered nearly 2/3 of the world's major cities. They were one of the few world-class orders back then. However, good times did not last long. The overly intense and extreme teachings lost their vitality after losing the support of war and the environment of crisis. The order rapidly declined after the war, and the successive large changes in teachings, internal divisions, external affiliations, and other unforeseen events cut this powerful power into pieces. The branch that Mo Luen belonged to could only withdraw into the region of Xia City. He relied on the impressive combat strength of the upper echelons to barely maintain the face of a secret order. And in the many years of change, the most important tool to realize the communication between the blood flame will and the lower echelons of believers, the order's sacrificial vessel, was unfortunately destroyed. This gave the order a heavy blow. The powerful sacrificial vessel was the pride of the blood flame order. It was the important inherited artifact that distinguished them from the wild fox order and the wild chicken order. It was precisely because of the sacrificial vessel that the lower echelons of the order possessed a regular channel of direct communication with the mighty blood flame will. They possessed the true feedback of divine ability manifestation and interference with reality. It was the best way to unite the hearts of the people and nurture the younger generation. Losing the sacrificial vessel was undoubtedly a fatal blow to an order that had established itself upon extraordinary strength. It was also a bitter humiliation. Nowadays, their order was the same as those wild chicken orders. Every sacrificial activity, no matter how big or small, required the officiant to undertake and guide it. They used an artificial method to communicate with the blood flame will. The consumption was enormous. There were many restrictions, and it was hard for people to be convinced. It became the greatest bottleneck that restricted the order's recovery and development. Mo Luen had already had enough of these cursed days. He had experienced the most glorious period of the order. Because of this, he was particularly unable to endure the current state of decline. Now, the order had paid an enormous price from top to bottom in order to obtain a new method to obtain the sacrificial vessel. The human-faced arachnid was the crux of the crux. It absolutely could not be lost. Mighty blood flame will, I beseech you for your blessing. His consciousness completed a simple prayer within the furnace of hell. He was able to feel a response from a certain hazy will that came from the depths of the unseen void. Moreover, it was a clear response that was rarely seen in recent years. It was like a true deity looking down from high above. Chapter 154. Mo Luen needed to make a correction as soon as this thought was born: forgive my stupidity. The basic teachings of the blood flame order did not recognize the existence of personified gods in the world. They believed that the blood flame will existed within all personalities. Under certain conditions, the blood flame will would form dominance over all higher conscious life forms. As for the nature of the blood flame will, it was explained as the extreme side of nature. It was the pinnacle of power that could only be reached through the extreme paths of blood and fire. It was very difficult for such teachings to gain favor in the context of the modern world. Because of this, the order had carried out many revisions to its teachings over the course of several decades. It had also buried the seeds of a great split and a great collapse. Mo Luen was an elder of the order. He himself was more inclined towards the traditional teachings. He viewed the blood flame will as a guide towards the pursuit of eternal power. He believed more in self-will and pursuit than in deference and humility. But it was impossible to not be disturbed and influenced by the chaos of several decades. He attributed the weak thoughts he had just had to a moment of confusion and foolishness. He did his best to gather his mind and forget his thoughts just now. He carefully sensed what the first oblatum had just said. It was the feeling of layers within the furnace of hell. Sure enough, he discovered after paying attention that there was indeed a subtle difference in the current inferno compared to the blindly violent environment of before. Especially in the cries of blood and fire from the believers, there was already a subtle difference. Some fanatical and resolute voices were clearly clearer within the inferno. They aroused even more echoes. This clear feedback was enough to prove that the construction of the Order's sacrificial vessel had indeed begun to take an embryonic form. Mo Luan felt that tonight's hard work was worth it. His consciousness separated from the human-faced arachnid. His state of mind settled as he calmly waited for the arrival of the soul envoy. The human-faced arachnid stopped in the void next to Mo Luan. It was just as quiet, at least on the surface. Is this a dove occupying a magpie's nest? Or is it just wishful thinking? Luo Nan had truly watched a play in the past few minutes. He had gained new knowledge. Then he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What rebirth from the flames? It was just the wraith sign reappearing after devouring its own kind. The altar constructed by the wraith sign was a battlefield for its own kind to devour each other. The human-faced arachnid, who came from the same source, simply had no chance of refusing the altar. Then, if this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. It was only natural that the experienced wraith sign, who had the home advantage, easily won. This human-faced arachnid of the Blood Flame Order had been nourished by the Blood Flame summons of the Order's believers and the Blood Soul Temple's construction, but its core essence was limited in terms of growth and strength. There was a considerable disparity between it and the Wraith sign, which had been tempered and upgraded by Rui Wen. After the Wraith sign swallowed Jack's spiritual seed first, the gap between them widened even further. It was only natural for it to fail. This once again confirmed that the human-faced arachnid was a Darksider life form. It was unable to increase in strength through its own accumulation. It was unable to increase in strength through low-level food. The Blood Flame Order's method of grazing was actually correct. However, it was very unfortunate that they encountered the Wraith sign, who was essentially on a different level from the other faced arachnid avatars. After swallowing Jack's spiritual seed, Luo Nan felt that the Wraith sign might have already surpassed the Wraith sign he encountered at the Limestone Water Village pub. At the very least, the Wraith sign wasn't at a disadvantage. However, this Blood Flame Order was a bit outside of his expectations. Luo Nan didn't want to have any contact with this order. He didn't face it head-on when Mo Luan attacked the heavily chained crow. In any case, the altar constructed by the Wraith sign had already taken control of the situation. Everyone split up and left, never to meet again. However, he never expected that the Wraith sign would defeat its fellow human-faced arachnid and that the Wraith sign would be busy receiving the fruits of victory. The remnant method of driving the human-faced arachnid's body would bring it back to the side of this mysterious power. The furnace of hell within the human-faced arachnid had already been completely incorporated into the framework of the altar. It was just that the Wraith sign didn't have the time to retract it. Mo Luan was completely unaware of this. He used the format of pure consciousness to communicate, sense, pray, and ponder. All of the energy and information circulated without the slightest bit of concealment. It was the same as displaying all of his secrets in one go. He wasn't much inferior to Jack. Grasping another person's secrets was very refreshing, but it was inevitable that he would burn his brain as to how to leave. He couldn't really let the Wraith sign follow him back to be some sacrificial vessel. At this time, Yuan's call cut in on the psychic wave network, which had just recovered normal communications. "Scout, are you okay?" I'm fine. Luo Nan's soul body floated in the air to observe. He saw He Yuan's tightly knitted brows as she communicated with him. Her brows relaxed after receiving a response. Luo Nan felt pretty good. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. Actually, aside from the Wraith sign's current dilemma, Luo Nan's current state wasn't just good. It was very good. It wasn't just good, it was great. He had borne the burden of another sacrificial activity. He had one with the Wraith sign, who had a close connection with him. The direct benefits for Luo Nan far surpassed what happened to Rui Wen. Of course, this didn't include soul breathing. In terms of the most intuitive range of mental senses, Luo Nan's range of senses began to rapidly recover the moment the mental storm stopped. The specific data had expanded by roughly 50 to 60%. The radius of his senses had nearly reached 800 meters. The expansion of the range of his senses proved that the amount of energy and information Luo Nan could control had increased by a large margin. His precision had increased as well. After his abilities increased, he always had a bit of a desire to show off. The society's hunt for the human-faced arachnid was probably about to begin. Luo Nan really was a bit eager to give it a try. What a joke. He was thinking whether or not he could borrow the society's hand to create an opportunity for the Wraith sign to escape. Who knew that He Yuan's next words would be, "The operation is over. Return immediately." Ha! You're not chasing. Chasing? Chasing who? The one who plotted against you. The one who interfered with the communications of the psychic wave network. Luo Nan really wanted to lead the society's power towards Mo Luan. His words were not without a hint of encouragement. He Yuan was silent for a moment. Then she suddenly gestured to Giant Arm, Crag Burst, and the others beside her. At the same time, her voice suddenly turned soft and gentle. It was as if she was afraid of alarming the enemy. You saw him. Don't move no matter what. This person's strength is extremely powerful. Right now you're just a crow. Don't think about anything else. Let him go. Ah. Hold on. That person has already left. But he should still be in this group of buildings. Aren't we going to chase him? He Yuan was startled. She gestured to Giant Arm and the others, who were already preparing to move, to stop. Her voice immediately returned to normal. She said resolutely and decisively, "You return immediately. Our mission for today is over." But, Luo Nan didn't know what to say for a time. Of course he could see that He Yuan's series of changes were all for the sake of his safety. But what about the Wraith sign on Mo Luan's side? Today is only the third watch. Tomorrow will be the same. The year is afraid of mid-autumn and the moon is afraid of the middle of the night. I'll adjust my tempo to the fourth watch as soon as possible when I recover next week. Please forgive me. Chapter 155. Mr. Luo. He Yuan changed the way she addressed Luo Nan, further indicating the end of the operation. She explained to Luo Nan, different mission objectives require different mission arrangements. They also require different executors. We are dealing with Jack's team. We are not suited to deal with the human-faced arachnid and the expert behind it. At the same time, the association has more or less locked on to the identity of the other party and will take follow-up measures to deal with it. But not at the moment. Luo Nan also knew that he shouldn't put his companions in danger for his own selfishness. He absolutely couldn't reveal the existence of the Wraith sign to the outside world. In the end, he still needed to think of a way himself. Got it. I'll be right back. Luo Nan confirmed that Mo Luan wouldn't leave for a while, so he ordered Ink to return. Who would have thought that He Yuan's next words would be, "Mr. Bai is here, just in time to check on the situation of your soul attachment." Luo Nan nearly let Ink knock its head against the clock tower. Yuan had mentioned Mr. Bai back in the fighting arena. Luo Nan hadn't paid much attention to it, but now the feeling was different. Don't look at how passive Mr. White was when he faced Mo Luan. However, on the mental plane, his light muslin and misty infiltration method was extremely exquisite. Ink's situation couldn't be hidden from others. It wouldn't be a big deal if his soul-leaving body was exposed, but after going through so much trouble for so long, it would still be awkward if it was exposed again. Luo Nan really didn't have a good solution. He could only take it one step at a time. As they spoke, Yuan and the others began to clean up the battlefield. Although the process was a bit tortuous, the people who participated in the operation all escaped unscathed, and the atmosphere was still relatively relaxed. The injured and unconscious Rue Wen had already been carried into the prepared battlefield ambulance and given emergency treatment to reduce radiation damage. On the other side, Jack's body was also moved back. A group of people gathered around to study it. It was said to be a corpse, but it was actually the Deep Blue Walker's exoskeleton armor. At this moment, whether it was inside or outside, it was a mess. All sorts of remnants of human tissues and destroyed spare parts could be seen. It felt like a pile of garbage. It was impossible to see the might he displayed when he'd fought Crag Burst and Giant Arm. At this moment, the sound of flapping wings could be heard. Ink flapped its wings and entered through the window of the abandoned building. Compared to its own kind, its enormous size and astonishing speed were rather eye-catching, attracting the attention of the people who were cleaning up the battlefield. Mr. Bai, who had been recuperating, raised his head. He didn't say anything, but his smoke like will spread out from the depths of the void. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Locked onto Crow. Luo Nan hurriedly let Ink descend to the ground where Mr. Bai was sitting. At the same time, he greeted through the hex ear, "Hello Mr. Bai. I've troubled you." He felt like he was a patient seeking treatment, and Mr. Bai was the highly skilled doctor. Mr. White grinned. This little old man, who was famous for his dream technique, was always in a slack and sleepy state. He sat on the ground with his back bent, as if he could fall asleep at any time. However, under Mr. White's half-lidded eyelids, his eyes were extremely bright. Along with the smoke that filled the air in the spiritual plane, he covered Ink's body. Very quickly, he let out an "oh." Yuan and Crag Burst had walked over even earlier, but they maintained a certain distance in order to avoid disturbing Mr. White's observations. Crag Burst was the first to make the judgment of spiritual attachment when he saw Mr. White's reaction. He couldn't help but ask, "How is it? Is it spirit attachment or soul attachment? I can't tell for now." Mr. White was quite frank, but he immediately praised, "It's a bit different from what I thought before. Little Luo's way of doing things is quite reasonable. His methods are cautious and strict. He has his own standards. Not bad, not bad." Luo Nan didn't hide anything. In the eyes of an ability user of Mr. White's level, it was impossible for him to miss the faint radiance of the diagram structure under the cover of the crow's black feathers as long as he paid careful attention. Yuan and Crag Burst also discovered this situation one after the other. Yuan hesitated for a moment before saying, "Format. Thank you for swallowing the archetype." Luo Nan secretly sighed with emotion. Yan Hong's archetype formatting theory was indeed deeply ingrained in burners, including ability users. It wasn't something that could be reversed in a short amount of time. Crag Burst scratched his head. "I don't think this diagram was there in the beginning, but I did see it when I was rushing over here." Luo Nan rushed to explain, "I just realized it not too long ago. It's mainly for adjusting my state." Yuan set the tone with a single sentence, "Is there any danger? Common sense says that the more there is a method, the lower the risk. But we can't make a conclusion lightly." Mr. Bai stood up as he spoke, "How about this? The matters here are more or less settled. I'll make a trip to the hospital with little Luo since I have nothing better to do. I'll give it a try and take a look. It's better than anything else. Yuan said, that would be best. I'll arrange a car. Don't be fooled by Mr. Bai's slack and sloppy appearance. Once he took action, he was truly swift and decisive. And he did it in a straightforward manner. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. Luo Nan didn't have the time to express too much before he was brought onto the flying car that headed towards Xia City's Renai Hospital. Luo Nan didn't really care about anything else. The only thing that worried him was the distance between him and the Wraith sign. Luckily, the connection between the two was still stable and secretive up to this point. Mr. Bai asked Luo Nan many questions along the way. The main questions were about how to establish a relationship with the crow, how to control it, and so on. Luo Nan saw that there was a way, so he took the initiative to talk about the origin of ink. He spoke half-truths and half-lies. I sensed ink at the time and locked onto it. Then I felt like my soul had left my body. This was an ambush for the possibility of him being exposed later on. However, Mr. Bai clearly didn't think that much. He laughed out loud when he heard Luo Nan's words, out-of-body state. Young man, don't bite off more than you can chew. You still haven't awakened. Even if you can go out for a short while, you'll be blown apart in the blink of an eye. That'll be the scattering of your soul. There's no saving you. It's that dangerous. From ancient times until now, the price has been disastrous. Mr. Bai shook his head and sighed. In the old ancestors' world, the out-of-body state is also called summoning the yin soul. There are quite a few taboos. Those who do it rashly don't have a good ending. Since you have this sort of feeling, there's no harm in reading the Taoist books that the society has organized and revised. It's good to be able to use them as reference. I remember now. Luo Nan finally understood why Crag burst, Yuan, and Mr. Bai didn't think about the out-of-body state. This was because they all considered things from common sense. They absolutely never imagined that Luo Nan would have an external fuel tank like the Wraith sign by his side. It could provide long periods of endurance. While Luo Nan and Mr. Bai were conversing, Luo Nan's soul body relied on its ghostly speed to arrive at Xia City's Renai Hospital half a step ahead. Wanting to rely on this crow, ink, to recover Luo Nan's senses was undoubtedly like trying to fish from a tree. Luo Nan needed to first resolve this problem in order to avoid awkwardness when the time came. Luo Nan relied on his subtle connection with his main body. He didn't need to deliberately sense it. His mind stirred, and his soul returned to his main body. At this moment, the mental plane and the material plane converged. It was like a stone being thrown down from a high place. It vibrated with a bang, bringing out circle after circle of ripples. Luo Nan opened his eyes amidst these ripples that penetrated his body. He gazed at the monotonous patterned ceiling of the hospital and grinned. But then his expression froze. Luo Nan felt a sharp pain between his eyebrows in an instant. A small hole had split open on the thin layer of skin in front of his forehead. Blood seeped out from within. At this time, one could see the heaven-defying nature of Rui Wen's body. He didn't look particularly strong, but he was able to keep up with the changes in the rhythm of his soul. No matter how extreme the situation was, he was able to withstand it. This was already far beyond that of an ordinary person. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. The category of such functions. There was no point in being envious. That attack just now had only torn his muscles. Luo Nan should be rejoicing. If there was a problem with his fragile and sensitive nervous system or endocrine system, his body's system might shut down on the spot, or he might experience some unpredictable developmental changes. There was no point in rejoicing. If this situation were to continue, then Luo Nan's worries would have an extremely high probability of occurring. Hey, Xiao Luo, are you distracted? Mr. Bai's voice was transmitted through the hex ear, making Luo Nan remember that he was still following Mr. Bai to the hospital. He could already see the building of the hospital at this time. Luo Nan gave up on the headache-inducing matter for now. He used an excuse he had already thought of to deal with it. My main body seems to be reacting. This is very good. Mr. White was a bit surprised, but he was also very happy. This means that the connection between your soul and your body is very close. Many problems can be eliminated. Come, let's strike while the iron is hot. As he spoke, Mr. White opened the car window and signaled for ink to fly out. Go back to your original body and see if you can do it. I contacted the association in the hospital and got a temporary identity. It would be easier for me to communicate with them later. Let's keep in touch. These words were in line with Luo Nan's intentions. He immediately gave a word of thanks to Mr. Bai and urged Ink to flap its wings to fly in the direction of the hospital. Ink accurately found Luo Nan's room and stopped outside the window. 2 seconds passed before it reported the good news to Mr. Bai. There are no problems on my side. In this way, the entire play was done perfectly and flawlessly. If one ignored the huge problem of the imbalance between body and soul. Mr. Bai also laughed out loud. It's best if it was a false alarm. Right now it's the latter half of the night. Take a rest first and catch your breath. We'll meet again during the morning ward rounds. Call me Professor Bai at that time. Luo Nan actually wanted to consult this authority on soul studies about the problem of the imbalance between body and soul. But the play had already been played to this degree. Some words were really hard to grasp. In the end, he was used to being introverted. After a moment of hesitation, his telepathic thoughts automatically responded, okay. Thank you, Mr. Bai. The communication between the two was cut off for the time being. Luo Nan spoke with He Yuan and Crag Burst, telling them to be at ease. After a round of notifications, Luo Nan shifted his attention back to his own body. The tearing sensation of his muscles spreading a step further. This was a concrete sensation. It was hard to say what the state of his internal organs were like without pain nerves. Luo Nan sighed. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. He took a breath. He needed to be careful with this sort of movement. If he made a mistake, he might tear again. This was definitely not good. It wasn't paralysis. It was even worse than paralysis. What in the world was that hesitation just now? Luo Nan felt that he had done something stupid. In the end, he wasn't a true idiot who wouldn't turn back until he hit the wall. He knew that he absolutely couldn't afford to be stupid in this sort of matter. He immediately tried to contact Mr. Bai again. But at this time, the Wraith Sign's message came back from a nightclub several dozen kilometers away. The situation there had changed. Mo Lewin of the Blood Flame Order had made the motion of controlling the human-faced arachnid. This human-faced arachnid wasn't the human-faced arachnid. The Blood Flame Order's method of controlling the human-faced arachnid was now only an empty shell. It was a bit difficult for the Wraith Sign, who lacked intelligence, to understand Mo Lewin's intentions. Luo Nan sighed once more. His soul left his body, temporarily breaking away from the bindings of his fleshly body. He responded to the changes in the situation over there with all his strength. Luo Nan had a general understanding of the situation over there through the Wraith Sign. The reason why Mo Lewin wanted to control the human-faced arachnid was because 2 soul envoys had arrived. Mo Lewin didn't know that the Ability User Society didn't have any intentions of continuing to chase and kill him for now. They were still proceeding strictly according to the Order's evacuation plan. The so-called soul envoys looked like a young man and woman who loved to play around. They were no different from the majority of the people still lingering in the nightclub. However, when the man and woman entered the room where Mo Lewin and the human-faced arachnid were, they immediately knelt to the ground after confirming the location, even though they couldn't see the scene on the mental plane. They silently prayed. Their bodies inexplicably swayed during the process of praying. They became dizzy and then they fell one after another, losing all consciousness. Luo Nan could clearly see that all of their conscious activities had vanished from the moment they lost consciousness. Right now the man and woman on the ground were simply two empty shells of fleshly bodies. Or perhaps it could be said that they were vessels. Mo Luan's intentions were already as clear as day now. Sure enough, Mo Luan controlled the wraith sign next. He wanted it to enter the body of the female soul envoys, borrowing the aura of life to conceal itself to the greatest degree. As for Mo Luan himself, he threw himself into the fleshly body of the male soul envoys without the slightest trace of politeness. Though the male soul envoys was in a state of unconsciousness, his body still shook violently. He nearly fell limply to the ground. A thin bloody wound had split open on his temple, and the surrounding blood vessels throbbed. It's the third watch today, and the second watch after that. By the time I get back from the county, it'll be evening. Chapter 157. It was as if Luo Nan was looking at a reenactment of the difficult problem he had encountered in the past. Judging from the current situation, it was clear that the soul envoy's body couldn't bear the infusion of Mo Luan's soul energy and was damaged. How would Mo Luan solve this problem? In the event of an accident, he couldn't command the soul envoy, who could be cut into pieces at any time, to fight, could he? With the wraith sign acting as a fulcrum and cover, Luo Nan opened his God perspective to conduct a comprehensive observation of Mo Luan. Mo Luan was completely unaware of this. He adjusted step by step, allowing the soul envoy to gradually adapt to the infusion of soul power. Luo Nan had already exposed his method of operating energy and information back at the wraith sign. Luo Nan observed and guessed, and he was able to figure out most of Luo Nan's steps. Is that so? Luo Nan was like an apprentice. He followed the movements of his instructor and began to try them out. The first is self-limitation. He adjusted the rhythm of his soul's breathing and slowed down the speed and efficiency of his energy and information circulation. He even intentionally blocked some of them to reduce the enormous pressure on his body. The range of Luo Nan's mental senses began to greatly shrink. From a radius of 800 meters, it shrunk all the way to less than 10 meters. At this point, it was only about 1% of the soul's spiritual senses. No matter what, it couldn't shrink any further. This was the bottom line for maintaining the soul's current configuration and rhythm. It was a basic unit. But even so, it was nearly twice as large as the 5-meter radius yesterday morning, and the information processing pressure was still not small. This was the second step, keeping a distance. Luo Nan followed Mo Luan's method and let his soul lean into the depths of the mental plane. He maintained a state that was neither close nor distant from his fleshly body. Well, it was like he was dreaming. Mo Luan had used this method to reduce the pressure on the spirit envoy's body. However, the biggest problem was that the information exchange between the material and the spiritual plane was somewhat stagnant, which affected the secretion of some neurotransmitters. His mind was in a trance, similar to sleepwalking or even taking drugs. In the end, this was only a temporary measure, and it wasn't a permanent solution. Luo Nan was a bit disappointed. But in any case, this method helped him extricate himself from his awkward state of paralysis. After Mo Luan completed the descending soul, he did not rush to leave the nightclub. Instead, he took the magic talisman out of the box and wandered around the nightclub. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. He walked around, adjusting the soul attachment form to the best state. Luo Nan temporarily lost the value of observation, and his mind flowed back. He could not help but yawn, nearly falling asleep. He didn't want to use sleep to scare people anymore, so he suppressed his sleepiness and sat up on the bed unsteadily. Faint sunlight shone through the curtains into the room. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, it was morning. Luo Nan thought about the twists and turns and chaos of the first half of the night and the flow of time during this time. The stark contrast between before and after made Luo Nan feel rather emotional for a time. He took another deep breath, but when he was halfway through, the itchiness in his throat suddenly exploded, and the airflow diverged, choking him to death. He coughed repeatedly, and almost couldn't breathe. At this moment, the communicator at the head of the bed rang on its own, and his aunt's extremely surprised voice came through. "Nan Nan, you're awake." He wanted to greet his aunt, but his violent cough made it impossible for Luo Nan to open his mouth. He could only force himself to raise his hand in response. The intensive care unit that Luo Nan was in was specially arranged by the society through the hospital. It was monitored 24 hours a day, and it was equipped with both professional and robotic care. Actually, the basic purpose was to refuse the company of his family, to make room for the following operations. Because of the hospital's regulations, Mrs. Luo Shuqing could only use online video to check on Luo Nan's current situation. She never expected to see Luo Nan turn over and sit up the first time she checked on him in the early morning. This was a pleasant surprise, and it was no small matter. But when she saw Luo Nan's situation of endless coughing, she couldn't help but worry. Right when she was about to call for medical personnel, the door to the ward was pushed open, and a mighty procession of doctors and nurses came in. The daily routine ward round had begun. Mr. Bai was astonishingly among the crowd, and he was in the center position. Luo Nan's attending physician had to address this little old man, who had casually put on a white coat, as of Professor Bai. He was extremely respectful. "Oh, the little fellow is awake. This saves us quite a bit of trouble." A nurse came forward to do a routine examination while Mr. Bai was joking. She pulled out the monitoring data from last night for Mr. Bai to look through. Mr. Bai had long since determined what happened last night. He just scanned the data and continued to joke with Luo Nan. "What's going on with your forehead? You didn't wake up from the fall, right?" The wound on Luo Nan's forehead was a tear in the epidermis. Please continue to the next page if this chapter doesn't end. The wound had already scabbed over and stopped bleeding. It looked as if he had been hung by something. There was only a shallow wound on his forehead, which was more eye-catching. Cough. "I don't know where I hit it." Luo Nan still couldn't stop coughing. His words were intermittent. Mr. Bai walked over with a beaming smile. He checked Luo Nan's body's condition step by step. In other words, he rolled his eyelids and so on. At the same time, Mr. Bai's voice transmitted into Luo Nan's hex ear, "Idiot. Shouldn't you be saying something like, 'Why am I here?' Cough. Why am I here?" Luo Nan's mind had always been dizzy due to the side effects of the blood pressure reduction. He really did say whatever he was told to say. He was extremely obedient. Mr. Bai was very happy. Luo Nan's age was indeed more than enough to be his grandson. He immediately patted Luo Nan's head in passing, expressing, "This child is worth teaching." Then he said, "It's nothing. This kid must have been under a lot of pressure recently. He's a bit mentally weak. His parents are here, right? Report the situation later. I'll be right downstairs." Mrs. Luo Shuqing didn't go home yesterday. She stayed at a hotel near the hospital. She informed her husband when she saw that Luo Nan was awake. Then she rushed over. She watched the entire process of the hospital examination through a video feed. She hurried to give a response through the communication device at the head of the bed. "No rush. No rush." Mr. Bai spoke with his mouth, but he grabbed Luo Nan's two hands. He indicated for Luo Nan to open up his left hand between his thumb and forefinger. His right thumb gently kneaded and pressed. He demonstrated the contact points, technique, and strength. "You're coughing badly. Just deal with it like this for now. Concentrate your mind. Don't be distracted. Okay. Luo Nan did as he was told. Sure enough, the symptoms of his coughing were somewhat alleviated. He nodded in agreement on the spot. Mr. Bai walked out with his hands behind his back, beaming with smiles. However, the connection with the Heir was never cut off. He shared information with Luo Nan, letting Luo Nan know of his upcoming journey. Mr. Bai symbolically checked a few more patients before meeting with Mrs. Luo Shuqing. The following words were different from what he said in the ward. Looking at the situation, it can be preliminarily confirmed that it's a disorder of the autonomic nervous system. It's caused by great pressure or anger. Did you vent your anger on your family last night? Mr. Bai adopted the attitude of a charlatan. He asked a question he already knew the answer to. He immediately drew Mrs. Luo Shuqing into a trap. Chapter 158. No. It's because of what happened outside. Luo Shuqing thought of the scene in the restaurant last night. She couldn't help but feel her chest tighten and her breath quicken. She ground her teeth to pieces. What more Luo Nan, who had his neck strangled by that bastard? Mr. Bai nodded. No matter what, the symptoms have already manifested. The next problem is treatment. You did an examination at Anhai's place yesterday, which basically explained the situation. The patient has two special points. One is that he is in his puberty period. The other is that he has a history of hereditary diseases. These all need to be considered. Under the influence of incorrect information, even a capable person like Ms. Luo Shuqing could only be manipulated by others. Her mind was restless. She asked, "You mean?" My general recommendation is that there is no treatment. Taking medicine is not a good method for a child like this. Instead, he should rely on environmental regulation and self-regulation. At this stage, a family atmosphere is very important. Self-control is also very important. Simply speaking, it is to relax, recuperate, and follow a routine of work and rest. It is not recommended that he engage in heavy physical and mental activities. Of course, the current symptoms of drowsiness, coughing, and so on need to be interfered with to avoid affecting his quality of life. How about this? First, stay in the hospital for 2 days. Soak in a nutrition pod and do some psychological counseling. Let him learn how to relax. Ms. Luo Shuqing didn't respond, but Luo Nan could no longer hold it in. Mr. Bai, why do I need to stay in the hospital? Because you really are sick. Your autonomic nerves have been damaged. Mr. Bai deserved to be called an authority in the study of souls. His mental cultivation was deep. He could multitask with plenty of time. The sudden cough is the most obvious evidence. Also, are you very thirsty right now? Who are you showing this early in the morning? Who are you trying to impress with your drooping eyes? For a young man who can already use Soul Host to show these symptoms, it's obvious that there is a problem with his physiology. Luo Nan was speechless for a moment. He watched as Mr. Bai made his aunt willingly go through the procedures with just a few words. He pondered for a long time before speaking. Is it because of the imbalance of body and soul? It's good that you know your place. Mr. Bai sighed. I can see that you are very talented in the study of souls. You learned it yourself, and you can use Soul Host to soul attach. This chapter is not finished. But which part of his body had been enlightened? Why did his spiritual cultivation improve again? I've just tested it. Your ability on the spiritual level is quite unique. Even I can't delve too deeply into it, so as to avoid causing more stimulation. But the more it was like this, the more troublesome it was. One had to know that compared to the soul, the improvement of the body was too small, and it was very easy to be left behind. In ancient times, many senior experts abandoned their bodies because of the imbalance in the progress of their souls and bodies. They were either self-righteous or had no choice but to abandon their bodies. In the end, they were reduced to wandering ghosts, their bodies and souls destroyed. We can't be careless about this. Luo Nan felt very wronged. He knew the reasoning behind this, but his soul strength had skyrocketed overnight. Was this still his fault? Well, there was no need for him to mention this particular symptom to Mr. White. Luo Nan tried asking, "Is it okay to start training now?" Mr. White snorted and said, "You sick man. The most important thing now was to recuperate." Ren AI Hospital's nutrition cabin was very effective. Let's go through a course of treatment first to see the effect. Don't worry. It's not the usual common goods. It's the society's special nutrient fluid. This is considered a work injury. Wait until the observation period is over. If you want to get better results, you can contact the society's high-level pharmacists. 1 or 2 points should be enough to get someone to concoct medicine for you. Oh right, you just joined the society. Do you know what honor points are? Yes, I do. But I still need to use medicine. Luo Nan had long seen that Mr. White was a humorous person who didn't bother with trifles. He was also a warm-hearted person. Luo Nan relaxed a lot when he spoke. Then why did you say that there was no cure? I was afraid that your parents would give you the common goods on the market. Let's not talk about whether the target is right or not. If the stimulation is too light or too heavy, the situation will become more troublesome. What do you do? Mr. White immediately introduced Luo Nan to the situation of several high-level pharmacists in the society. But Luo Nan heard a few words, and sleepiness bubbled up in his mind. He was a bit unable to calm down. He answered in a daze, "How's Brother Octopus?" Octopus. You're familiar with him. Mr. White sensed Luo Nan's state, but he didn't take it to heart. He just spoke truthfully. That kid isn't bad, but he specializes in hallucinations and potential stimulation. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. We don't get along in this situation. But as a pharmacist, his connections are stronger than mine. You can consult his opinion. Luo Nan's impression of this warm-hearted and selfless old man grew more and more favorable. He promptly expressed his thanks. Mr. White emphasized a few taboos that Luo Nan needed to pay attention to. Then he let Luo Nan sleep first. This would make it convenient for the hospital to do further examinations. Luo Nan really couldn't hold on any longer. He gave his thanks again and fell onto the bed. Who knew that a new message would come from the Heir at this time? Chapter 159. Luo Nan paid the most attention to the deep-sea Type 4 dynamo core within the series of spoils of war. He remembered watching the scene from the sidelines. After the dynamo core lost the stimulation of energy and information, the separated filaments were retracted one after another. The wheat seed structure also became loose, returning to a 4 to 5 centimeter thin needle. It was very similar to his external neuron. A cutting-edge product that might very well be of the same origin as the external neuron in his possession, a direct clue that might very well be related to his father's whereabouts. Luo Nan was extremely interested in these spoils of war just based on this point. Moreover, Luo Nan had watched the entire negotiation process between Jack and Yan Yongbua. Naturally, he knew the value of the dynamo core and its related technology. At the very least, in the eyes of those who were observant, even if all the other spoils of war were to be combined together, they wouldn't even be worth half a fraction of it. The first thing Luo Nan did was to look at the bidding situation for the dynamo core. However, the bidding description showed that the spoils of war were still in the evaluation phase. It seemed that the society was unable to determine its value. Jack's brain nucleus was also being evaluated. This was a little surprising. The brain nucleus was admittedly an important processing center for the altered human, providing high-level thinking and emotional templates. However, it was still a mass-produced product after all. There was no reason for it to be placed on the same level as the dynamo core. Oh, wait, I remember that this thing was wrapped inside the dynamo core. Luo Nan recalled the situation at the time. After the dynamo core had removed its metal wheat seed form, it had indeed dropped this brain core. Even earlier, when the Wraith sign probed Jack's brain, it discovered that the dynamo core was also surrounding the brain nucleus. It was unknown if there were any special requirements inside. There were too many mysteries surrounding Jack. Thinking back to last night, he had originally wanted to find out more about Yan Yongbua, but a freak combination of factors had caused such a huge scene. Jack was one of the most important catalysts. The Deep Blue World and the Apocalypse Laboratory were all unheard of. If Jack hadn't exposed them, how would Luo Nan have known of these things? After Jack's death, many clues were lost. He wondered if the association could put in more effort and dig out more relevant information. If this didn't work, Luo Nan would have to do it himself. He was pondering over Jack's secrets when a sudden connection suddenly cut in. It was Crag Burst. Hello. Hello. Scout, are you feeling better? How does it feel to have a good sleep? I still want to sleep. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Luo Nan and Crag Burst's friendship was extraordinary thanks to Knight's close cooperation. Still sleeping. Rui Wen is the same, even worse than you. She has never woken up, but her injuries are much more serious than yours. With that kind of injury, there's no harm in sleeping more. Though they weren't placed together, Luo Nan knew more about Rui Wen than anyone else through the intermediary effect of the format pyramid. According to his deduction, it would be difficult for the girl to wake up within the next 2 days. This little girl, Rui Wen, had an innate ability to sense danger. Even when she was unconscious, it was still operating instinctively. During continuous battles, the rhythm of her body and soul was directed towards rapid recovery. However, once the situation slowed down, the rhythm would become extremely slow. It was as if she wanted to take a long nap to conserve her energy. Luo Nan really needed to learn this method of making precise adjustments according to the changes in the external environment. Oh right, you want to play bidding. Luo Nan jumped in fright from this fellow. Even his sleepiness was swept away a bit. How did you know? Look at the interface. It's clear who's online and who's paying attention. You don't even know this. You're just a rookie, and you still want to compete with others for money. Crag Burst laughed loudly. Luo Nan knew that he had made a mistake, but he didn't let go of the opportunity to understand his opponent. He asked directly, which one have you taken a fancy to? I'm not interested in any of them. They don't match with my abilities and hobbies. Crag Burst responded quite straightforwardly. Then why are you looking? If I can trick someone, why wouldn't I look? Crag Burst laughed again. It looks like the middleman hasn't found you yet. Perhaps your information is classified and he can't find a breakthrough point for now. Middleman. Even if you don't ask, I'll still remind you. Look, you're a psychic. You're a mentally enhanced ability user. You have nothing to do with altered people or anything like that. I'm afraid that not many of these spoils of war have caught your eye. Luo Nan hesitated for a moment, but he still responded to Crag Burst's words. Crag Burst talked non-stop as he explained, but for our society, aside from going to the wilderness for a big gamble, there aren't many situations in which we can seize so many spoils of war within the city. The right to bid, especially the right to bid in the first wave, is truly rare. If we use it carelessly or miss it, then it would truly be a waste. When Luo Nan heard this, please flip the page if this chapter doesn't end, he understood, you're talking about purchasing. There's someone in the society who has taken a fancy to the items inside. They want to trade for them. Smart. But I need to add one more thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone from the society. Even outsiders can do it. Of course they can. As long as they can bring out goods that move people's hearts, then they can exchange what they need. The cutting-edge technological equipment we obtained this time is quite popular in the market. There are already 2 or 3 parties who have expressed interest. Especially the 2 items that are currently being evaluated. Even I'm moved by their conditions. Luo Nan's mind had been preoccupied with something. Hearing this immediately stirred an extremely sensitive chord and he blurted out, "It can't be Yanyongbwa, right?" Yanyongbwa. No, it's an intermediary company. Ha. Wait a minute. The news came out too fast. The briefing is still hot. Cragburst's temperament was straightforward, but he wasn't an idiot. He clapped his hands on the spot. Don't say it. It's really possible. Luo Nan grinned. I don't want to do as he wishes. Cragburst naturally knew of Luo Nan's attitude towards Yanyongbwa. His interest was immediately piqued. I'll go check it out. Wait for my news. If it's true, then the way we do things will be different. He excitedly hung up the call and went to work. Luo Nan muttered to himself for a moment. He set the bidding for the dynamo core, including the brain core, to be watched immediately. He exited the interface of the Heir. Right now he was lying on his bed, blinking his eyes. Though drowsiness surged forth like a tide, he felt as if he had missed something. Oh, that's right. He turned his head. The split-page notebook that never left his side lay peacefully on the headboard of his bed. The pitch-black cover was like the entrance to a tunnel leading to an unknown direction. Luo Nan leaned against the headboard and sat up. He flipped open the notebook to the flexible e-ink screen page. He swept his eyes over the other icons and stopped on the visualization diagram. The visualization diagram icon that had just been displayed on Friday night was still in the download and install state. However, the area that glowed faintly seemed to have increased by a tiny bit. Sure enough, when he mentally injected it, the percentage of completion displayed had jumped from 2% to 6%. Should he be happy for the sake of a 3-fold increase? Luo Nan shook his head and his finger brushed across the flexible screen. The interface turned off and a slender needle was drawn out from within the flexible screen without a sound. The next update will be around 2 in the morning. Everyone, don't wait. Let's see it tomorrow morning. Chapter 160. Luo Nan focused his gaze on this dynamo core that he had long since possessed. Compared to the Deep Sea Type 4, Luo Nan was certain that this dynamo core was nearly twice the length of the Deep Sea Type 4. And clairvoyance on the mental plane could see that the electricity flowing on the dynamo core was much more intense. It was probably because the model was different, but he didn't know how to address it. From Luo Nan's current perspective, this toy, the dynamo core, was truly very peculiar. It possessed a feeling of substance on the material plane, yet it constantly affected the mental plane. The mental and the material interfered with each other, blurring the positioning of its material. It was as if the dynamo core existed in the crevice between the mental and material planes. There were simply too many things worth studying. Luo Nan let the dynamo core merge with his brain while he pondered. He wanted to try and see if he could be like Jack and activate this toy. Since it's an activation, we should give it some stimulation. Luo Nan wasn't like Jack. He didn't have a dedicated power transmission line, so he was unable to provide enormous electrical support. All he had was soul energy. He didn't know what to do either. He simply let his soul power seep in and it quickly turned into a form of observation. The range of his spiritual senses shrank rapidly in exchange for an increase in accuracy. But for now, no matter how much the range shrank, it was still locked within a range of 10 meters. No matter how much his accuracy increased, it was still swaying around the millimeter level. His best record was still some distance away from 1/10 of a millimeter. This obviously wouldn't work. If one were to use the standards of cutting-edge technology to determine the precision of the dynamo core's craftsmanship, it would at least be at the nanometer level. That was 1/1,000,000th of a millimeter precision, which was close to the atomic scale. Just thinking about it made one despair. However, Luo Nan still knew that within the dynamo core, there existed an inconceivable sub-brain chip within the neuron-like structure of the cell body. It bore the burden of a huge amount of coding, translation, and calculation tasks. The reason he knew all this was because last week, the dynamo core had grown to a certain degree under the support of the abundant energy of the independent power station of the Gear laboratory. Providing a huge amount of energy was obviously a more direct and effective method. Compared to an independent power station, Luo Nan's individual strength was negligible. Of course, the dynamo core did not respond. Sure enough, it's not that easy. If I can get Jack's dynamo core application technology and use it on myself, it shouldn't be considered as a cyborg, right? Luo Nan fell into a deep sleep with this thought in mind. However, less than half an hour later, he suddenly opened his eyes and moaned. His aunt was in the ward, staring blankly at him, lost in thought. Aunt? Luo Shuqing's gaze connected. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. Her eyes were slightly moist, but she had already lost control of herself too many times since last night. She didn't want Luo Nan's mood to be stimulated again, so she took a deep breath and forcefully maintained a calm tone. Do you know how you came in? You slept in the car. Luo Nan put on an innocent face. In reality, he really didn't know how to alleviate the worry and anxiety of his elders. It was impossible for him to pat his chest in this situation and say, this kind of thing will never happen in the future. On the contrary, this kind of thing will probably happen more and more often in the future. Luo Nan's hesitation made Luo Shuqing comfort him. Are you feeling better now? The doctor said that it's mainly a neurological disorder. The symptoms aren't serious and you don't need to take medicine. Soak in a health pod a few times, stop coughing, drowsiness, and other conditions, and you can go home. Normally, Luo Nan should have asked something like, what's going on in the end, but he didn't want to say these empty words at this time. He just smiled at Luo Shuqing. I don't feel anything. It's like I skipped a day of classes. I've already applied for a long-distance video course on your behalf. It starts tomorrow. The conversation between aunt and niece was about to step onto the normal track when a soft electronic sound rang out. A face that Luo Nan was familiar with appeared on the display panel of the mechanical nurse. Mr. Xie Junping has come to visit. Luo Nan was quite surprised. This person's information is quite fast. Luo Shuqing was a bit surprised. Your friend? Yes. Xie Junping pushed open the door at this time and walked in with large strides. He shouted, Junior Nan, I heard that you're sick and hospitalized. What's the situation? He was stunned when he saw Luo Shuqing when he opened his mouth. He had read through Luo Nan's information and quickly realized the relationship between the two. He immediately bowed. Hello Mrs. Luo. I'm Xie Junping. I'm the same as Luo Nan, I'm also at Acumen College. It must be said that before Luo Shuqing saw through Xie Junping's nature, this fellow's bright and cheerful appearance gave people quite a good impression. Luo Shuqing's first impression of him was quite good. Luo Shuqing was a very traditional woman by nature. Even though she really wanted to speak a few more words with her nephew, she still paid great attention to etiquette since they were guests. She chatted a few words with Xie Junping before excusing herself to understand Luo Nan's condition. She gave the two youngsters space to converse. Xie Junping bowed all the way as he saw Luo Shuqing out the door. Hopefully, he was just thinking too much. Of course Luo Nan had gear. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Irreplaceable significance. He also believed that his mother's designs had the power to become a classic. But for powers like Quantum Corporation and the Order of Justice, what was the actual value of a wetland building? Luo Nan hated that he couldn't immediately return to school to see what was going on. At 5:00, the hospital's visiting hours ended. Both Xie Junping and Luo Shuqing were persuaded to leave. On the other hand, Luo Nan truly began his health pod treatment. There was no dinner, and he had to be stuffed naked into a translucent nutrition pod. The most embarrassing thing was that Mr. Bai had personally come to supervise. Luo Nan seriously suspected that this overly carefree little old man had come to see him make a fool of himself. Don't be nervous. Don't you have a filter? If he could breathe, he would just take it as sleeping in the bathtub. By the way, since you just woke up, do you want to play some games? There's even a game. Luo Nan was wearing a breathing apparatus, so he couldn't open his mouth. He could only watch with wide eyes. Through the Heir. Mr. White smiled as he switched to the Heir channel. Ouyang has migrated quite a few games to the psychic wave network. They are updated in a timely manner and are very popular. For example, there are games like 10 Days in the Wilderness. Don't you youngsters like to play? Hold on. Don't jump around like this. Mr. Bai tapped his own forehead. I heard that your application of the Heir has already reached the computer level. That's how it is. This is a typical manifestation of an imbalance between body and soul. It seems that you've learned to attach your soul without a teacher. Perhaps the 4th level simulator won't be a problem for you. If you get addicted to playing, your soul strength will increase. Then you'll be in big trouble. Simulator. It's similar to virtual reality. In the Heir, it goes from basic interactive applications to active collection and operation of energy and information. It breaks away from the limitations of the fleshly body and materializes self-logic on the psychic wave network. Luo Nan blinked and concluded, out-of-body state. Mr. Bai raised his eyebrows. That's right. This kid's brain is really fast. This is the out-of-body state. It's also called astral travel. On the psychic wave network, there's the protection of energy. The risk of an out-of-body state can be minimized. You can try it in the future, but you absolutely can't right now. Not only can you not play games, but you can't leave the body. There's also meditation. Oh right. You can meditate, right? I can visualize a bit. Isn't that about the same? It's the same. All methods that can increase soul strength can't be used. Here. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. At your level, visualization is no longer a game of pure thought. It is necessary to gather and operate energy and information at all times. This will bring enormous pressure to the fleshly body. You'll truly lose your balance. When the time comes, it'll be a bit easier for you to just die. Mr. Bai's words knocked Luo Nan back to the cold reality. He could only laugh bitterly for a time. Reality was like this. If he hadn't learned a bit of expediency from Mo Luan, and if he hadn't had the dynamo core to entrust his soul to and dispel the pressure, Luo Nan would certainly be living a life worse than death. Mr. Bai scared Luo Nan to let him understand the seriousness of the matter. Then he gave a solution. If you really can't do it, then chat. This old man won't chat with you. You can find someone else. Cragburst is a chatterbox. That secretary seems to treat you quite well. She's even a beauty. Luo Nan rolled his eyes while the nutrient fluid hadn't covered his face yet. Oh right. I'll go find Ouyang and seal your privileges. Kids are always unreliable. The old mister did what he said. He patted his butt and left. Luo Nan really admired this old man. But he really did relax quite a bit after being messed around like this. He didn't feel any discomfort even though he was covered in the nutrient fluid. But soon, Luo Nan was faced with a real problem. He really couldn't sleep. There were many things in his mind, but he couldn't find a clue. It was a mess, and his brain was especially excited. It was very tiring. Did he really have to chat? Helpless, Luo Nan scrolled through his friend list on the Hexier. There were only He Yueyin, Crag Burst, Octopus, Zhang Yingying, Mr. Bai, and a few others on the list. Which one should he choose? Someone had already taken the initiative to make a choice for Luo Nan while he was in a dilemma. The greenish-gray octopus head jumped up and down. Bro Octopus. Bro, have you entered the cabin yet? I'm inside. Luo Nan had already contacted Octopus before starting the treatment. They discussed the matter of concocting the nutrient fluid. As a professional, Octopus gave Luo Nan many useful suggestions. He also wanted to help Luo Nan contact a suitable pharmacist. In the professional field, Octopus's horizons no longer stopped at Xia City. He looked to the entire world. He recommended Luo Nan an authority in the field of nerve repair, Dr. Clay, who was far away in Los Angeles, America. He even volunteered to make the contact. Right now, there was already a result. Bro, I have the latest news. Chapter 162. Octopus chuckled. Luo Nan knew that it was almost done. Our luck is pretty good. Dr. Clay is quite interested in your case. He has already decided to take it. I've already paid in advance. Bro Octopus. Hey, you can't let me take advantage of you, right? That nerve drug of yours must be shelved. It targets neurons. Most of them are sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. If damage has already appeared, it will be hard to predict what will happen if we continue to stimulate them. If we save this expense, wouldn't I be taking your grandfather's molecular formula for free? That's not how it works. That's how it works. Oh right, there's a small problem in this matter. Dr. Clay is currently working on a project. He can't get away for a while, so he sent his students over to do the preliminary data collection and testing work. It will be done in about a week. As for Dr. Clay, it will be the end of the month. The end of the month. Luo Nan was startled. His scalp went numb in the blink of an eye. Didn't this mean that he would have to soak in this large bathtub of the health pod for another month? He hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "Wouldn't this take too long?" Octopus laughed. What's the big deal in a month? It's not even a single course of treatment. You won't have to stay in the hospital forever. I asked Mr. Bai. As long as you can suppress your cough and lethargy, you can leave the hospital at any time. Then you can report to the hospital every other night for specialized treatment. The society will reimburse you. After all, it's a work injury. Luo Nan knew that Octopus and Mr. Bai had talked. The light blue liquid of the health pod had completely covered Luo Nan's head by now. Even though he was wearing filters, earplugs, and other protective equipment, the strange, indescribably sticky feeling became more and more distinct. Luo Nan was not averse to this feeling due to his childhood experiences. He could faintly sense the composition of the nutrient fluid seeping into his body bit by bit with the precision of his senses. It affected the secretion of his body's chemical composition to a certain extent. Luo Nan could not help but carefully discern the minute changes within due to his years of habit. In the past, he could only sense it roughly. Now he was countless times more precise. Correspondingly, the operating efficiency of energy and information had unknowingly increased. Not good. Luo Nan suddenly came to his senses, and he hastily stopped the thought of clairvoyance. Even so, there were still many parts of his body that were faintly aching. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. The pain made him break out in a cold sweat. Was she trying to cure him or harm him? If he had to experience this for the next month, then Luo Nan really would have the heart to die. His restlessness delayed him for a while, and he was also distracted. I heard it wasn't a peaceful journey. It was hard to tell where Supervisor Bai was looking after her black mask. However, she responded to Hu Yuli's question. Yes, we were attacked by a three-headed vulture. It was a false alarm. As she spoke, she carried her backpack and continued walking forward. Some of the flight attendants wanted to take the backpack from her, but for some reason, they didn't dare to move. Yan Yongbua and Hu Yuli naturally followed by her side and returned to the VIP lounge. After throwing the dark brown backpack on the sofa, Supervisor Bai sat next to it. Her elbow propped up the bulging bulge as she took off her sunglasses. Her wild cheeks that never seemed to be at peace were now completely free from the shackles. In particular, the pair of eyes that were deeply sunken in his eye sockets seemed to flicker with light at any moment. However, upon closer inspection, they were clearly layers upon layers of cold flames. Hu Yuli didn't look directly at such eyes. He picked up his teacup and lowered his head in contemplation. Yan Yongbua, on the other hand, raised his head and faced this new colleague with the calmest and strongest attitude. At least, that was what he had to think for now. In the end, it was Hu Yuli who laughed. Supervisor Bai, it must have been hard for you to come all the way here. We have already prepared a place for you to stay. Why don't you take a rest first? That's not necessary. I haven't been back to Xia City for a long time. I have an appointment with a friend. Supervisor Bai glanced at the two people in the room and smiled. Let's get down to business before we settle our personal matters. The task assigned to me by the laboratory is to investigate the relationship between the Deep Blue World Soul sect and the various secret sects on Earth. So far, the most valuable information came from Assistant Yen. It is said that Jack personally admitted that he knows some of the contacts of the Soul sect. Seeing that Supervisor Bai had gone straight to the point, Yan Yongbua secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately replied, yes, including a senior member. So, what's the specific situation? Yan Yongbua paused for a moment before saying, Jack is dead. We are pursuing the relevant clues to obtain his relevant information and records. We are currently working on it. Supervisor Bai picked up her sunglasses with one finger and magically made the sunglasses spin on her fingertips. More specific. Chapter 164. Yan Yongbua's gaze shifted from Supervisor Bai's slender fingertips. His expression turned gloomy, but he still remained calm. We believe that Jack was a modified human, at least until the night of September 30th. That way, his way of thinking would not have been able to surpass the template of the brain nucleus and would not have been creative. We have the template settings of his version of the brain nucleus and have used the exhaustive method to list all possible options. We have selected the ones with the highest probability and checked them one by one. Okay, and then? So far, we've searched through Jack's life circle, but we didn't find anything. The Apocalypse Laboratory searched through the cloud space where the data was uploaded, but we didn't find anything either. After various investigations, we can basically confirm that if there are any relevant data records, they must be carried by Jack. Yan Yongbo glanced at Supervisor Bai's face and paused for a moment before continuing. We have searched the battlefield in the early morning of October 1st, but the Ability User Association search was very thorough and did not leave anything valuable behind. This way, the target is likely to be in their internal bidding for the spoils of war. So far, we have recovered all the bidding goods through the middleman. However, the evaluation of the Deep Sea Type 4 Dynamo Core and the brain nucleus has not been completed and the bidding has not begun. In addition, the C-2834 test subject is still under the control of the Ability User Association. It has been in a coma for the 7th consecutive day, but from the collected information, its vital signs are relatively stable. The lengthy speech could basically be regarded as a work report. Yan Yongbo felt this halfway through his speech. However, the arrow was already on the bow and there was no reason to stop halfway. Supervisor Bai did not respond immediately after the long speech. She seemed to be digesting the information and seemed to be in a daze. Yan Yongbo hated this kind of situation where he had to wait for someone to express their stance, but he still had to wait patiently. At the same time, his heart slowly sank. This was the last thing he wanted to see. Hu Yuli was still drinking his tea, his eyes narrowed. After about half a minute, Supervisor Bai finally said, after listening to Assistant Yan, "I am relieved." Yan Yongbo's eyes lit up and a smile appeared on his face. Supervisor Bai, before returning to Xia City, I actually had a headache. After all, our missions are different. Even if we have a bit of cooperation with Jack and the C-2834 test subject, the following work will inevitably divide Xia City's current strength. Supervisor Bai leaned against her backpack and changed into a more comfortable position. It's all good now. All the measures that Assistant Yan has taken so far are under control. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. In this case, I don't need to be polite, I can just use it. Yan Yongbo's expression changed. His current position was the CEO of the Rainbow Fund and the assistant manager of the Sky Blue Security Company. On the surface, the former definitely had more funds and resources than the latter, and that was indeed the case in a normal society. However, the problem was that if Yan Yongbo could only choose between the two positions, he would undoubtedly choose the position of assistant manager. This was because it represented the formidable strength of 4 full squads and nearly 30 deep blue walkers. But now, Supervisor Bai wanted to take everything away with just one sentence. The situation was worse than Yan Yongbo had imagined. Supervisor Bai wasn't just making empty promises. She had the signature of the Quantum Corporation headquarters and the Apocalypse Laboratory. When this electronic document was inserted into Yan Yongbo's work wristband, the authority settings on it came into play. Yan Yongbo's direct leadership of the 4 Deep Blue Walker squads, which was the position of Chief Captain, was transferred to Supervisor Bai. Currently, Yan Yongbo was only an assistant in name at the Sky Blue Security Company. In reality, there was no longer any meaning. Yan Yongbo's face was ashen as he stared at Supervisor Bai's dazzling face. His aura was already fluctuating faintly and the blood in his chest was about to boil. Supervisor Bai's relaxed posture did not change. She smiled at Yan Yongbo and continued to gather the power in his body. Hu Yuli could not sense the power mode of the burner, but he found that the atmosphere in the room had become extremely dangerous. It was not good for him to sit still, so he put down his cup and smiled to smooth things over. The headquarters and the laboratory must have their reasons for this arrangement. As long as the two of you cooperate sincerely, it doesn't really matter who is in charge of which area. In the end, there is still a difference. Supervisor Bai was surprisingly frank. As for the specific difference, Assistant Yan, no, CEO Yan can slowly experience it. Oh, I haven't congratulated you on your promotion to CEO. See you later. As she spoke, she stood up, picked up her large backpack, and prepared to leave. Yan Yongbo stood up abruptly. For a moment, he really wanted to pounce on her, but in the end, his feet rooted to the ground. Only a hoarse voice squeezed out of his throat, but even he himself did not know what he said. Supervisor Bai seemed to have heard it clearly. Do you want to know the reason or the result? Why don't I tell you both? Research is not your job, so mistakes can be forgiven. Excavation is a task you cannot afford to make mistakes. However, Xia City's limited power cannot be divided up just for you. At the end of the day, you are still, this chapter is not over. Please continue to the next page. Failure is inevitable. As for the reason, it is very simple. Out of boredom, he glanced at the public projector of the low-altitude bus station, which was showing the current hot topics. Star Associated Society's Deep Blue Walkers. The talkative host, the dull expert, the slick expert, and the well-produced video editing combined to form a quadrilateral that constantly changed its center of gravity. It was actually very attractive. Mo Peng was captivated by the edited footage of the Deep Blue Walker. At that moment, the program entered the interactive segment between the audience and the experts. The host eliminated the ridiculous topics like, are there mutants in the underground of Xia City, and does the Deep Blue Walkers symbolize war? He chose a more professional and more basic question. There's a saying that Deep Blue Walkers don't just refer to a single piece of equipment. They also don't refer to a single person. Only when the burner is combined with a deep blue armor custom-made for them can they be considered a true Deep Blue Walker. Is that right? Wrong. The dull expert was an authoritative figure in the relevant field. His professional knowledge was impeccable. He immediately replied, strictly speaking, Deep Blue Walkers can be considered a kind of systematic concept. It is established on the basis of system theory and the archetype neural format theory. It requires the human nervous system to be the core to arrange all kinds of resources and obtain the most optimal results. The first application research of this theory was conducted by Quantum Corporation's Deep Blue project. As for the Walker, it's another name for the prototype machine. It has two meanings. The first is a pedestrian on the road. The second is a Buddhist term that specifically refers to a person who has entered the path of cultivation but hasn't taken a vow. In other words, this research is only at the beginning. It's just on the road. There's still a lot of follow-up work to do. In terms of the individual, the burner is fully deserving of being the core. It's just that it's limited by the natural conditions of the human body. It needs a special exoskeleton to supplement and assist. Therefore, the relationship between the burner and the custom-made armor is one of leading and supporting. It's not a parallel relationship. From my personal point of view, the relationship between man and machine should be that of core and supporting. The supporting equipment supports the lower limit of a Deep Blue Walker. The autonomous consciousness of man determines the upper limit of a Deep Blue Walker. The host was already starting to regret letting the dull expert speak. At this moment, who knew how many people in the audience at this moment? It was unknown how many people in the audience were watching. They would close their eyes and yawn. Or they would simply switch channels. Mo Peng was one of the yawning members of the audience. But when he turned his head, he saw that Luo Nan had raised his head at an unknown time. Luo Nan was staring fixedly at the projection screen. Oh right, this wooden expert was promoting the archetype formatting theory. It was the thing that Luo Nan couldn't stand. Mo Peng was really worried that Luo Nan would get angry and fall sick again. He hurriedly advised, this bro is showing off. It's as if he's the only one who understands, what you say isn't without reason. Luo Nan was referring to the words, autonomous consciousness of man, that came after the wooden expert. It coincided with the situation he had been tossing and turning these past few days. It was just that the situation was a bit more complicated. But Luo Nan could foresee that if he could increase the endurance of his fleshly body, then the lower limit of his abilities would correspondingly increase. The problem was, how to do it. It was practically impossible to keep up with the tempo of increasing the strength of his fleshly body step by step. Then, should he transform his body? Mo Peng gave him a push just as he was muttering to himself, let's go. We're at our stop. The low-altitude bus stopped at the most bustling city center of Xia City. No matter what time of day it was, this place was always filled with people. Luo Nan did not have a good feeling about this place because it was far too stifling. As he walked on the pedestrian walkway, the towering buildings all around him seemed as if they would collapse at any time. Ahaha, Frost River reality. I'm coming again. Mo Peng suddenly became excited. Luo Nan raised his head and saw the gorgeous holographic advertising wall of Frost River reality not too far away. It was currently broadcasting scenes of hot-blooded battles. Battles in the wilderness, battles in lava, battles in the deep sea, battles in space. Each and every battle scene seemed to be real. They attracted the gazes of passers-by. Virtual reality had a fatal attraction to almost all young people. As the largest reality-based chain store in Xiao City, every Frost River reality was actually a large-scale amusement park. There was no need to worry about not having a place to kill time. Of course, with Mo Peng's personality, it was impossible for him to quietly come and play with 2 or 3 people. Just as he was looking left and right for people, a call came in. Peng 17, Lil Nanster, come over here. You guys are really slow. I've been drinking so much cold drinks that my spine is about to freeze. A group of young boys and girls had already stopped at an ice cream store near Frost River Reality. They were just waiting for them to come over. Chen Chen was the only female member of Mo Cheng's team. It was normal for her to be here. However, the third son of the Mo family, Mo Chiu, was almost 30 years old this year. He was at the age to start a family and start a career. He had long passed the age to play around with these young people. Furthermore, he was someone who always put on airs. This was not right. Mo Han blinked and lowered her voice. I heard that they're here for a blind date. Mo Peng still didn't understand. Blind date? Doesn't he have a girlfriend? They broke up. They used to be in the same unit. Now that he's jumped ship to a new company, they broke up quickly. This one seems to be someone he met through Sister Chin. She's in the University Department of Acumen College. Acumen College. What a coincidence. Mo Peng looked at Luo Nan. She's a teacher. No way. She's a student. Holy crap. An old cow eating young grass. Mo Han wrinkled her nose. I heard that she's a beauty. She's an officer in the University Department of Acumen College. She's graduating this year. Hey, Lil Nancy, it's time for you to play your role. Is there such a person in your school? Luo Nan just laughed. How could he say anything? Mo Peng was very impressed. It looks like third brother Chiu has struck it rich. He invited the 10 of us to play games for the sake of a blind date. In the name of friendship. Mo Han had the appearance of someone who understood the world. Playing games is good. Don't look at how many people there are. Who cares about who in virtual reality? In the end, aren't they the ones alone? They can do whatever they want. Mo Peng gave a thumbs up to the sister pomegranate who dared to say anything. At this time, Mo Chiu, who became the center of the conversation, walked into the ice cream shop. He was dressed casually. His height was average, but his figure was maintained quite well. He looked very spirited. He had the maturity of a person in society and a bit of superiority. Perhaps it was very lethal to young girls who had yet to leave school. Mo Chiu frowned a bit at the noise of the ice cream shop. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. This wasn't his ideal location for a friendship. Actually, Frost River reality wasn't it either. But since he was already here, he would take things as they came. He greeted his group of brothers and sisters. His posture was calm and he looked very confident. After taking a seat, he asked Mo Cheng, Cheng 7, they haven't arrived yet? Chen Chen just went to pick up her sister from the hospital. She just happened to be here to relax. She might be a bit late. How many people are coming over there? Currently there are 4, 3 women and 1 man. Chen Chen and her sister are your targets. One of them might be her sister's boyfriend. Oh, they're here. As soon as Mo Ching said this, everyone's gazes turned towards him in unison. Which one is the blind date? Sister Chen's left or right? It's definitely the left. She's over there. She suits third bro's taste very well. The one on the right should be Sister Chen's sister. She's almost 1.7 meters tall. She's only in high school. Third bro shouldn't be this shameless. Mo Ping chuckled, high school. High school is good. She can socialize with me too. Mo Han extended her hand and gestured on top of his head. Girls with short bodies are cute. Boys with short bodies. She suddenly felt the unfriendly gazes from all around her halfway through her words. She stuck out her tongue and stopped talking. Chen Chen's group had already arrived while they were whispering. Mo Chio took the lead and everyone stood up to greet them. Luo Nan just stood up when he saw the slim woman next to Sister Chen. He was stupefied. She didn't immediately discover Luo Nan in the crowd. Instead, she followed her sister and greeted everyone. But she still had to see. The two locked gazes. Luo Nan had already mentally prepared himself, but the other's face paled. She didn't make a sound. Sister Chen had already introduced herself clearly, my sister, Chen Xiaolin. Acumen College's Mutual Aid Association secretary, that's right. She was Shuelei's girlfriend, Chen Xiaolin, who was admitted to the hospital for treatment after suffering a fright at the Limestone Water Village pub last Friday. Luo Nan never expected to bump into her in this kind of situation. It looked like Chen Xiaolin's impression of him hadn't been eased by nearly 10 days of treatment. This was awkward. Chapter 167. It just so happened that Luo Nan rarely hung out with this group of people. Chen Xiaolan, who was also the Chin Chen that Mo Ching spoke of, was not too familiar with Luo Nan. Chen Xiaolan, who was also the Chin Chen that Mo Ching spoke of, was introduced to Luo Nan along the way. She was a bit stumped when she suddenly saw this somewhat unfamiliar face. The awkwardness that was displayed on the surface actually covered up Chen Xiaolan's unnatural movements. At this time, it was the experienced Mo Chio who came to the rescue. What do you think? Our fifth uncle's son, Nanster, has changed after attending Acumen College, right? You can say that Acumen College is nurturing people. Xiaolin, you didn't give me this much pressure the last time we met. Mo Chio's self-deprecation and flattery eased the awkwardness. Everyone laughed. However, there were also some parts that were a little inappropriate. Mo Han secretly complained, it's destroying people, right? They just came out of the hospital. Chen Xiaolan was able to form a battle squad with a bunch of big men. She was a character that wouldn't lose to men. She wasn't faking it. She immediately patted Luo Nan's shoulder, so it's Nanster. I didn't recognize you just now. It looks like we haven't played together much. You just got in this year, right? Xiaolin is 1 year ahead of you, so let her take care of you in the future. If they bully you, just tell me. If it was under normal circumstances, Mo Chio and Chen Xiaolan would have let the matter pass. But the problem was that Luo Nan wasn't a person with particularly strong adaptability. As for Chen Xiaolan, she was usually smart and capable, but her mind was unsettled right now. Her reaction was extremely terrible. She didn't follow up. She didn't even pay attention to her older sister's words. Junior Luo, long time no see. Chen Xiaolan's abnormal reaction immediately attracted Chen Xiaolan's attention. In fact, Chen Xiaolan's current performance was quite different from her previous performance. Mo Pang and Mo Han hit to the side and whispered, holy crap, there's something going on. But to Luo Nan, this level was practically a loud announcement right next to his ear. Luo Nan glared fiercely at them. Chen Xiaolan didn't hear the whispers on the other side. Even if she did, she would pretend not to hear it. She was a little curious. What? You guys know each other. Is Acumen College that small? I just met her last week. Senior Sister Chin even helped me. What else could Luo Nan say? He could only deal with it first. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. However, at this moment, a voice from the other side joined in. So you're also a junior from the academy. Last Friday, did you participate in the mutual assistance buffet party? The one who spoke was Mo Chio's target, Tian Si. She looked rather petite and beautiful, and her smile was especially alluring. No wonder Mo Chio was trying so hard to woo her. Yes. Hello, Senior Tian. Luo Nan also remembered that he seemed to have met this person before. It was either the student council or a member of the Student Assistance Association. However, President Chen Weikan was too dazzling back then, so the impression of the people behind him was already very shallow. If it wasn't for the fact that the information matched, he wouldn't have been able to recall it. Tian Si laughed quite happily. Acumen College's power has suddenly risen greatly here. Junior Luo, Xiaolin, Tian Chi, and me are almost 1/3 of the total. Tian Chi was the only male in Chen Xiaolan's group. He was also Tian Si's cousin. He was tall and thin and had a refined manner. It was obvious that he was interested in Chen Xiaolan. He stared at Luo Nan from the moment Chen Xiaolan's expression changed. His suspicion carried a hint of vigilance. However, when Tian Si mentioned him, she still smiled at Luo Nan. She extended her hand and shook hands with Luo Nan, calling him junior. At the very least, she didn't lack elegance. Luo Nan inexplicably felt that this was a bit absurd. He could sense it very clearly. Right now, the group of 4 from Acumen College was conversing back and forth, but they all coincidentally circled around one person. However, they were constantly affected by this person, Shuelei. Emotional issues. Luo Nan felt his teeth ache just thinking about it. Luo Nan wouldn't easily get involved in areas he didn't understand at all. However, he had participated in the unforeseen event between Shuelei and Chen Xiaolan to a large extent. He didn't feel that he had done anything wrong. Back at the Limestone Water Village pub, the human-faced arachnid had already set its eyes on Shuelei. It had taken control of the society's ability user, Black Wolf, to launch a pincer attack. It was clear that the human-faced arachnid wanted to treat Shuelei as food. If he hadn't exposed them on the spot, the consequences would have been too horrible to contemplate. But looking at it from another angle, if Luo Nan hadn't hypnotized the emotional Chen Xiaolan during the fight between Shuelei and the Black Wolf, Chen Xiaolan's psychological suggestion wouldn't have been so intense. He was more or less responsible. No matter how much undercurrent surged between the group of 4 from Acumen College, it wasn't the main topic of tonight's event. Frost River Reality and the Fellowship were the main topic. Please continue to the next page if this chapter doesn't end. Everyone got to know each other. They left their seats under Mo Chio's initiative. They entered the reception hall of Frost River Reality in a grandiose manner through the inner door of the ice cream store. This was undoubtedly the intersection point between the virtual world and the real world. Even though they had yet to come into contact with the most core of reality technology, there were interactive AR virtual images everywhere in the hall. Iron-blooded, cool, cute. Chapter 168. Clearly, Chen Xiaolan was deliberately waiting for Luo Nan. Tian Luo Nan greeted, Senior Sister Chen. Chen Xiaolan spoke very bluntly, you're in contact with Leicester. Luo Nan was a bit embarrassed. His coughing came surging up at this time and his face turned red. But now that they had pulled away from the team in front of them, some things could be said. I heard that Senior Sister hasn't seen him all this time. Actually, the matter at the time. Luo Nan coughed with great difficulty. He wanted to explain but he didn't know where to start. From the bottom of his heart, He felt that it was better for Chen Xiaolin to never know about this level of things. I can more or less understand what happened. Oh. Chen Xiaolin watched Luo Nan, but the focus of her gaze wasn't on his face. My dad used to be a special police officer. Leicester's father was also a special police officer. Their profession always brings them into contact with some very dangerous things. When faced with vicious criminals and the like, there's no reason. Violence is the solution, right? Luo Nan could only nod his head in understanding. The profession of a special police officer is very dangerous. Right now, Leicester's father is more or less a police officer. But my dad wasn't that lucky. He was blown to pieces during a mission. This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. Luo Nan was stunned hearing this. He wanted to open his mouth to console her, but he felt that it was meaningless. Plus, Chen Xiaolin's attitude was very calm and unperturbed. Junior brother Luo, I don't need to hide it from you. Leicester is the type that I really like. He's just like my father. He's firm, strong, simple, and generous. But when I think about how he might be like my father in the future, struggling between all kinds of dangers and never getting tired of it, I can't accept this. Chen Xiaolin shook her head amidst Luo Nan's silence. She suddenly laughed, and more realistically, I can't understand Leicester and your logic. Luo Nan spoke in a low voice. Senior sister, you're saying, Chen Xiaolin stared at him, why did you and Leicester act like it was a matter of course when faced with that kind of situation? You didn't feel surprised at all. Panic. It was as if the surroundings should be filled with these things. Did you know? Your expressions at the time made my heart go cold. At this point, Chen Xiaolin took a deep breath and finally said, you and I may not be people of the same world. I can't understand, and I don't want to understand, let alone come into contact with you. Luo Nan was silent again. A long while passed before he said, I have a general understanding of senior's intentions. But I don't know anything about this sort of thing. I just thought that between you and me, if this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Suddenly, an arm wrapped around Mo Han's shoulder and pulled her into a hug, pressing half of the little girl's body into an embrace. The smell of alcohol and saliva sprayed onto the side of her face as she chuckled. Mo Han was caught off guard and screamed in fright. I'm finally home. I wish everyone a happy Mid-Autumn Festival. I'm going all out to finish writing. Chapter 169. Everything happened too suddenly. The group of people watched as Mo Han was forcefully held in someone's arms. They didn't react in time. Mo Peng, who was the closest, was the first to rush over. He grabbed the man's arm and helped the struggling Mo Han break free. Mo Tao, Mo Han's elder brother and the strongest member of the group, let out a low roar and rushed forward, slamming the man against the wall and grabbing his collar. You're not going to die, Mo Tao said. What are you doing? F***ck me. What the F***ck are you doing? The man was pressed against the wall, but his voice was even louder than Mo Tao's. The smell of alcohol coming from his mouth was nauseating. He was clearly very drunk. Luo Nan and the others were at the place where they had just walked past the reception hall and entered the passage. The environment suddenly became narrow. A dozen or so people formed a circle, blocking most of the passage. The drunkard hoodlum shouted a few words, but he seemed to sober up a bit when he saw the dense mass of people before him. He was a bit scared for a time and stopped for 2 seconds. But soon, his drunken eyes caught a glimpse of a certain person in the crowd. He immediately stretched out his hand and swung it twice. Finally, he placed it on Mo Tao's shoulder and pointed at Tian Qi, who was dumbfounded and had his mouth agape. What's up, little Tian Qi? You can just flip your face when you want it outside. The officer Huang. Tianqi blurted out the first word, but he couldn't hold back the rest of the words. The man's many years of accumulated power made him feel weak in his heart. But the current situation truly exceeded the limits of his face. His fair face soon flushed red. If he could, Tianqi would certainly want to dig a hole in the ground and bury himself in it. Fortunately, his cousin Tianqi stepped forward bravely and angrily rebuked, "Huang Bingjin, what kind of drunken madness is this?" The drunkard hoodlum narrowed his eyes. With great difficulty, he saw Tianqi's face clearly under the blurred light of the hallway. He laughed again, "Tianqi. See, Sister Cici." This guy called Huang Bingjin was at most in his 20s. His drunken face perfectly accentuated his usual arrogance. "Sister Cici, long time no see. What's up? Is it the student union or the student union? These people around me look unfamiliar. Don't crowd around me, I'm bored." He tried hard to pry Mo Tao's hand away but failed. This made him a little annoyed. "Hey, you already know who I am. Who are you trying to fool?" At that moment, some people in the crowd, "If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page." Luonan finally found some relevant memories. That's right, it's this Huang Bingjin. According to the intelligence report, he's an officer of the Mystic Arts Research Society. He's a typical rich second generation and a pervert. Last Friday night at the Limestone Water Village pub, Cat Eyes had smashed him into the wall. Perhaps it was because he had taken too many drugs at the time, but that experience clearly did not teach him a sufficient lesson. Tianqi naturally knew the ins and outs of Huang Bingjin. She wasn't afraid of his position in the school, but she was afraid of the Huang family's social influence. Her expression was very unsightly. "Huang Bingjin, who did you come with? If you're drunk, go puke in the toilet. Is it fun to lose face outside? The Mystic Arts Research Society and Acumen College have lost all face because of you." Huang Bingjin had a cheeky grin on his face. "It's fine. Sister Cici is so pretty. She'll grow back sooner or later." Everyone could see that there was no way to communicate with this fellow at this time. Mo Chio confirmed that Imo Han wasn't injured, so he didn't want to tangle with her any longer. He took advantage of the situation to close the distance between him and Tianqi. He lightly embraced her shoulder. "Let's go. We can't lower ourselves to the level of a drunkard. Tao Jiu, let's go." Mo Tao glared fiercely at Huang Bingjin. He grabbed Huang Bingjin by the collar and slammed him into the wall before letting go. Who knew that once Huang Bingjin regained his freedom, he would run his mouth like a train. "Hey, my friend over there. You're familiar with this line of work. Did you ask me for permission before doing this? Did you ask their president, Chin Chin?" This fellow had an intoxicated look on his face, but his heart wasn't. His words were poisonous. Tianqi's face turned green from anger, but the more she was like this, the more excited Huang Bingjin became. "So you guys are all hooking up, but I'm not allowed to hug a little girl. Come, little girl. Let me tell you about the Mystic Arts Research Society." He reached out to hug Imo Han as he spoke, but Imo Han, who had come back to her senses, wasn't someone easy to deal with. She immediately kicked out, hitting Huang Bingjin's shin bone. Imo Han was wearing pointy leather shoes. Her kick was filled with hatred. Huang Bingjin immediately let out a miserable groan. He hugged his leg and jumped, but he didn't stand firm. He fell to the ground, battered and exhausted. "Let's go." Mo Chio didn't want to make a big deal out of this. He suppressed the unhappiness in his heart and called his companions to leave. The group of people walked inside, leaving Huang Bingjin behind. Huang Bingjin shouted, F***ck me, F***ck me. When they reached the corner of the passage, Mo Peng turned his head and swept a glance at Huang Bingjin, who was still cursing on the ground. He muttered, "This guy's mouth is too sharp. I'm afraid I won't be able to have fun tonight. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page." Luo Nan grunted. He looked at Tian Si and Tian Chi's preoccupied appearances. This was indeed the case. When they turned the corner, Luo Nan's line of sight could no longer be seen. However, the range of Luo Nan's mental senses still covered Huang Bingjin. He discovered that someone had gone over to greet Huang Bingjin just as they turned the corner. Clearly, this person had seen the conflict earlier but intentionally avoided trouble. Luo Nan had actually seen this person before. He was Lu Tao from Xia Juanping's circle of friends. At the same time, he was also a high-ranking member of the construction society. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and had a very scholarly appearance. Huang Bingjin was from the Mystic Arts Research Society. The circle of this group of rich second-generation kids far exceeded the circle of the school's societies. It didn't seem like a cruel bidding war was going on at all. Tonight, Mo Chio had actually spared no expense for this get-together. He specifically booked a large private room to facilitate the preparation work before entering. After the group of people entered the private room, they were guided by the AI to the scanning area to stand. The relevant equipment examined their body shapes, body characteristics, and so on. Data models were built, peripherals were matched, and so on were used to achieve the best effect of reality. Actually, the vast majority of people had accounts at Frost River Reality. A single scan was enough to connect with their previous data. They could stand for a bit and come out. But there were always exceptions to everything. Only Luo Nan could not get through the scan. Mo Peng was impatient. "What's going on? Nanster, I brought you to play before." As a veteran gaming geek, Mo Ching was quite clear about the things here. He shook his head and said, "Nanster, you came last year. You're half a head taller than last year. You've developed, but you don't play often. The system needs to readjust." Luo Nan was well aware that the drug stimulation had caused quite a large change to his body over the years. Now there was no more drug stimulation, but under the stimulation of soul strength, the changes would probably be even greater in the days to come. He laughed. "Actually, it's nothing. I told you earlier that I wouldn't play sensual games. Why wouldn't you play?" Mo Han found it strange. "Isn't this the reason we came to Frost River Reality?" This. Luo Nan's scan finally went through, but a rare yellow light lit up in the scanning area. There was also a prompt. "Distinguished customer, we are very sorry to disturb your gaming progress. Since you are currently undergoing treatment, according to the doctor's advice, please do not engage in highly stimulating games. Strive to update on time tomorrow and try to make up for it. Current payment progress, monthly subscription March 15th. Chapter 170. Following the sound of the notification, Luo Nan's account in Frost River Reality had many privileges temporarily locked down. They were displayed as restricted. Even the peripherals and equipment that were sent over were different from those of other people. Everyone in the room looked at each other in dismay. I've lived long enough to see something like this happen? Even an expert like Mo Ching had never seen such a situation before. He clicked his tongue in wonder for a time. Luo Nan was calm. The scan results were one thing. The most important thing was that his medical records from Renai Hospital had been entered into the database. This situation only occurred when the two were combined. It could not be said that Frost River Reality was wrong. Many of the current somatosensory games used microstimulation of the nervous system to obtain more realistic effects. For Luo Nan, whose nervous system operated at a high rate, this was a big taboo. Mo Ching walked over to look at the specific restrictions and shook his head. I can't go to Area A and B. I can only play in Area C. The gaming area of Frost River Reality had a total of 3 levels. Area A was Reality Replica, Area B was Reality Immersion, and Area C was Reality Experience. The intensity of stimulation to the nervous system decreased in order. Of course, the degree of playability was the same. Area C was generally targeted at the elderly, children, or adults who wanted to relax. Young people who pursued excitement generally disdained this area. Luo Nan had talked to Mo Ping about the intensity of the game before he came. He just did not expect Frost River Reality and the hospital to be so extreme. Mo Ping reacted quickly. He spoke with a sense of loyalty. Then how about this? I'll accompany Nanster to Area C to practice his wilderness skills. You guys go wherever you need to go. Luo Nan walked out of the scan area and put on his combat suit peripherals. At the same time, he shook his head. I don't need you to accompany me. You can go play with Brother Seven and the others. It was not easy for a gaming madman like Mo Ping to come here. He definitely wanted to go to the most exciting area, Area A, to experience the effects of reality to the fullest. Mo Ping was still thinking about it. At this time, Tian-Si smiled and raised her hand. I can't play games. I can't stand things that are too exciting. I'll stay in Area C since she had started, Mo Chio laughed. I'll also stay in Area C. Everyone else can play however they want. Just be careful. Ching 7, don't go crazy. Watch over everyone. No problem. Mo Ching said this. It was hard to say how much he listened. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Chen Xiaolin wasn't very interested, but Mo Han and Mo Rui pulled her to Area B. Tian Chi also had a lot on his mind, but he definitely had to be on guard against this kind of natural third wheel. At that moment, Mo Tao and Mo Ping dragged him to Area A. The group of people were quickly assigned and left in a huff. Nanster, where do you want to go play? Mo Chio asked Luo Nan's opinion in a very considerate manner. The problem was that he was closer to Tian-Si right now. It seemed that he was really interested in Tian-Si. Huang Bingzhen's dirty words didn't affect him at all. Luo Nan didn't have any intentions of being a third wheel. He found a random reason. Third brother, you guys don't need to worry about me. I'm going to the 10 days in the wilderness to do some basic training. I'm also going to train my body in passing. Alone? No, Mo Ping can also turn on the guidance mode in Zone A. I'll call him when I get there. Luo Nan's wristband received a call as he spoke. It was an unfamiliar number. It just so happened that Luo Nan was about to pull away from the 2 main participants of the social gathering. Luo Nan raised his hand and gestured for them to move to the side. Hello, Mr. Luo. I'm Bai Xinyan. Luo Nan was stupefied for a moment before he reacted. Bai Xinyan. Wasn't that the brilliant disciple of Dr. Clay that Octopus Bro had mentioned? The one who had come to Xia City to help Octopus Bro with his early treatment and data collection. Especially since she was Mr. Bai's daughter, Luo Nan hurriedly added a greeting. Hello, Ms. Bai. Bai Xinyan's voice was low and gentle. It was very pleasing to the ear. Mr. Luo, the examination will only start tomorrow night. However, I just retrieved the information from Ren AI Hospital and the association. I saw the results of the automatic examination last night. It seems that there are signs of relapse. How do you feel now? Luo Nan secretly admired this person's strict attitude, but he couldn't say that the Wraith sign was cheating him. He could only vaguely say, I really do feel a bit uncomfortable. I feel like the pressure has increased, perhaps your soul power has grown again. There will always be a period of rapid growth before and after an ability user awakens. But for the current you, this is not good news. Bai Xinyan had accurately grasped the root of the problem and was very frank. Luo Nan was mentally prepared. Bai Xinyan continued, for the next step of treatment, I need to update some data here. I hope Mr. Luo can cooperate. I need to go back to the hospital. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Is it? No need. I noticed that the Frozen Star system retrieved your information from Ren AI Hospital about 5 minutes ago. The Frozen Star system. It's the main system of Frost River reality. It's located in the supercomputer Black Dome. It's the carrier of several experimental projects of the Star Alliance Committee, the military, and the Ability User Society. It has a relatively close relationship with us. You're at Frost River reality right now, right? Fudong Avenue in the city center. He had been caught. Chapter 171. Luo Nan stood still. He stopped at the boundary between Area C and the guide area. Ahead was the reality area filled with AR virtual images. Through the strengthening of the external goggles, these virtual images had a bit of a cartoon flavor to them. It was hard to tell the difference between reality and illusion. Some advanced players could choose their virtual guide. From virtual idols to game heroes, there was no problem. Therefore, the area ahead suddenly became lively and clamorous. Real human figures and virtual images mixed together. It was a dazzling sight. Luo Nan talked as he walked. His speed was very slow. Mo Chiu and Tian Si were already in front of him. He thought for a bit and did not enter Area C. Instead, he used the Hexier to contact Bro Octopus. After a week of preparation, Octopus had already begun the research work on Luo Yuandao's psychotropic drug. Plus, he was quite ambitious. He combined Luo Nan's practical results and opened up several groups of drugs for comparative research. He really turned into an octopus, spending several days in a row in high-intensity work. His days and nights had long since turned upside down. When Luo Nan contacted him, Octopus managed to find some time to take a nap in the laboratory. He was still a bit muddle-headed when he picked up the call. But when he heard Luo Nan's description, he instantly woke up. White Salt has returned to the country. He contacted you and wants you to go to the Frost River waterway. Octopus blurted out Bai Xinyan's nickname. He washed his face again to clear his mind. After pondering for a while, he said, I know about the Frost River Reality Project. The government, the military, the society, as well as many financial groups and companies are all involved. Chairman Ouyang is also a technical consultant. Our psychic wave network platform actually has a transplant. Of course, it's not suitable for you. But if it's somatosensory stimulation, the corresponding danger will be greatly reduced. Frankly speaking, White Salt's plan is a bit radical. But it is very much in line with the style of Dr. Clay's School of Reconstruction. Their school relies on top-notch nerve repair technology. They are very happy to test the limits of the human body in every case. They work on these limits, combining repair and strengthening into one. There is no school that can match up to this advantage. Of course, you need to pay attention to controlling the intensity. Luo Nan roughly understood. Since Octopus said this, there shouldn't be any major problems. He thanked Octopus and hung up. He decided to follow Bai Xinyan's instructions. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Following that, he followed the instructions on the key email and loaded the electronic key into his social authority system. He obtained temporary authority and connected to the Frozen Star system. Soon, the system guidance arrived. Luo Nan followed the instructions and left Area C. He took the special elevator to the 3rd floor of Frost River Reality. The elevator door opened, and 2 ushers dressed as female starship soldiers said at the same time, "Welcome, sir." The 2 guides saw Luo Nan, who had the face of a student, standing in the elevator car wearing eye-catching, restricted peripherals. The latter half of the guide's speech was a mess. Luo Nan was able to confirm that the two guides were real people and not virtual images. He nodded in response and walked out of the elevator. It was completely different from the bustling scene below. Upon entering the third floor, it was extremely quiet. The gloomy black light and the dense light spots at the top formed a miniature starry sky environment. It was as if even breathing could be heard. Luo Nan could also feel that his arrival seemed to have caused trouble for the two guides, but he couldn't always explain, "I'm just here for a physical examination." He could only feign ignorance and politely ask for relevant information according to the system notification. "I want to go to Frost River number 3. How do I get there?" The two guides, one with long hair and the other with short hair, were both charming and pleasant. The two exchanged a few glances when faced with Luo Nan's question. Only then did the short-haired guide speak. "Sir, Frost River number 3 is an independent area. Can we confirm your corresponding authority?" "Ah, okay." Luo Nan was just about to raise his hand when the long-haired guide made a hand gesture to the side of the scanner to release light. The light swept across Luo Nan's combat suit peripherals and a pale yellow indicator light lit up. Luo Nan immediately received a system notification. "Hello, respected customer. You have accidentally entered an unauthorized area. Please follow the instructions of the nearby guide and leave as soon as possible to avoid causing any accidents." The two guides looked at each other again. When they faced Luo Nan again, they simultaneously revealed professional sweet smiles. "Sir, you have also seen the situation. I hope you can cooperate." "Wait, it's not that." Luo Nan could roughly guess that the authority on his wristband was not connected to the peripherals of Frost River reality. He was just about to explain when the electricity behind him stopped. "This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page." The ladder door opened again and someone walked out unsteadily. Another drunkard. Was Frost River reality an amusement center or a hotel or a restaurant? However, the person who came was clearly a regular customer. The two guides saw him and simultaneously bowed in greeting. "Mr. Hu." The drunkard walked over. He looked quite young. He casually placed his arm on the shoulder of the short-haired guide. The latter hurriedly reached out to support him and revealed a sweet smile. "Mr. Hu, what do you have in mind?" Mr. Hu was still clear-headed. "Give me a private room and an environment that can quickly hypnotize me. Let me sleep for a while." "Yes, C7. These people can really drink." "Okay, Mr. Hu." The short-haired guide supported Luo Nan and walked inside. She indicated to her companion to quickly solve Luo Nan's problem. Mr. Hu moved 2 steps sideways like a crab. He could not walk properly. He got closer to Luo Nan and his drunken eyes swept over Luo Nan's face. At this moment, he was stunned. He suddenly reached out to grab the goggles on Luo Nan's face. Luo Nan took half a step back and avoided the grab. He frowned. "Mr. Hu, fellow student." The two guides spoke almost at the same time, but they did not know what to say. It was clear that they could not handle this chaotic situation. Mr. Hu was about to reach out, but at this moment, there was a knock on the door. The door of a room at the end of the corridor opened and a woman in a dark professional suit walked out. Seeing this person, the two guides seemed to have found their backbone. They called out at the same time, "Manager Ian." The lady also noticed the situation here and walked over. As she got closer, her appearance gradually appeared in the dim light. She looked to be in her 30s. She had a beautiful face and an elegant demeanor. Her exquisite makeup brought out the mature charm of a woman. Her gaze swept across Luo Nan and Mr. Hu's faces. She immediately smiled at Mr. Hu and said, "Little boss, you got drunk the moment you came here. Do you think I specialize in sobering up soup? Mr. Who was inexplicably afraid of her. He straightened his body and waved his hand. Sister Lo, I didn't mean that. Madame Ian turned her face again. She wanted to say something to Luo Nan, but she saw this young man staring at her face blankly. He was clearly in a daze. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.